Hi everybody, welcome to Christian Homestead. My name is Jared. If you haven't already, please make sure to subscribe. Recently, I've been going through old videos and old comments because I know that you guys have shared so many things, both in the comments and also through email, and I wish that I could get to it all. I'm just one person. There's only 24 hours in the day. I'm limited, and outside of YouTube, I have a lot of other things going on. And so it just kills me that I can't comb through it all. That I can't respond to it all. I wish that I could, you know. I am not AI, so unfortunately I can't do that. But I'm going to try my best. So I came across this comment on this video. I blacked out the video because I didn't want that to distract from this video. But I got a comment from Brother of Amaleki. He shared a quote from President Boyd K. Packer. So thank you for the comment. And I want to read the surrounding material. So we're going to go to the church website. This is the April 1999 General Conference. The name of the talk is The Bishop and His Counselors. All right, President Packer says, "Often we are asked how the relatively few apostles in the first presidency and the 12 can manage the church, now more than 10 million strong." Which, of course, today we're almost at 18 million. We're getting to that point where it's almost double what it was in 1999. I just want to point that out. We'll talk more about that in a little bit. All right, he continues, "Actually, the church is no bigger than a ward. Each bishop has counselors. He wears a special mantle and is designated as the presiding high priest in the ward. There are other high priests, and there's a presidency of elders. There are auxiliary leaders and teachers sufficient for the need. When we serve obediently, ever willingly, our pay, like the bishops, comes in blessings." Okay, now, here's the part I really want to focus on in this video, but I thought that this was pretty good too. I actually decided to put this quote on my spreadsheet called Quotes A through Z. I have a new row. It's currently row 97 for church administration. So this is not just a Second Coming channel. I like to collect quotes and scriptures on any doctrine or anything having to do with the church. So I may need this for a future talk, for example. Okay, continuing. "No matter if the church grows to be 100 million, as surely it will." We're going to be talking about numbers in this video because I found some really interesting numbers and things to think about. Continuing. "It will still be no bigger than a ward. Everything needed for our redemption, save for the temple, is centered there, and temples now come ever closer to all of us." Yeah, especially in 2025 with President Nelson and the goal to have temples within an hour of, I think it's 80% of church membership. So, man, a lot has changed since 1999. "Small numbers of wards are grouped together under the shelter of stakes and branches under districts. There is a stake presidency and a council to train the bishopric and other leaders to train those who serve with them." Okay, so when I saw this quote shared in that comment, I'm not so sure he just pulled a random number. Now, the first thing that we might think about is the millennium. I want to read this quote from President Joseph Fielding Smith. This is my quotes, common misconceptions spreadsheet. This is currently row 18. The topic is millennium, misconception. "Only members of the church will make it through the second coming and into the millennium. No more missionary work." I really like this quote, and these concepts are repeated elsewhere, but I'm just going to read this quote. You can find this in Doctrines of Salvation, Volume 1, page 86. "Some members of the church have an erroneous idea that when the millennium comes, all of the people are going to be swept off the earth except righteous members of the church. That is not so. There will be millions of people, Catholics, Protestants, agnostics, Mohammedans, people of all classes and of all beliefs, still permitted to remain upon the face of the earth, but There will be those who have lived clean lives, those who have been free from wickedness and corruption, all who belong by virtue of their good lives to the terrestrial order. Or, of course, terrestrial or above. If you're telestial, that's the definition of the wicked. Those are the ones that are going to be destroyed and go to the spirit world. All right, continuing. As well as those who have kept the celestial law will remain upon the face of the earth during the millennium. Eventually, however, the knowledge of the Lord will cover the earth as the waters do the sea. But there will be a need for the preaching of the gospel after the millennium is brought in, until all men are either converted or pass away. In the course of the 1,000 years, all men will either come into the church or kingdom of God, or they will die and pass away. In that day, there will be no death until men are old. Children will not die, but will live to the age of a tree. Isaiah says this is 100 years. When the time comes for men to die, they'll be changed in the twinkling of an eye, and there will be no graves. Okay, so missionary work is going to be a big deal in the millennium. Is that what President Packer is referring to? Again, he may have just come up with a number. It could be, but I feel like whenever we hear this kind of thing from church leadership, I feel like it's actually based on something. When you piece it all together, you look at everything that they've said, it seems like there's actually like substance behind it. Now, you'll remember that President Nelson in 2018 said that we're just at the exponential phase of growth. For some reason, I didn't pull up that quote. Okay. And there's been interesting things going on with missionary work since he became president of the church, including this period of the pandemic, which hindered missionary work in terms of numbers. Missionary work was still continuing, but missionary efforts were hampered. But I wanted to take these numbers that I have on my spreadsheet, the church membership by year, and I wanted to plug it in to Grok and see if it could come up with some kind of projection and see how long would it take based off of its projection to get to 100 million members of the church, like what Elder Packer said. I wanted it to take into account what was just recently said by Elder Cook. So let's read this. And I took the text from this church news article and put it into Grok, and it took this into account. And when it took it into account, it changed the original estimate. First, I just asked, what's the projection? And then I plugged this in, and then it revised it in kind of a dramatic way. Okay, so Elder Cook, this is Church News, June 19th, 2025. Focusing on the missionary purpose and leading... Okay, focusing on the missionary purpose is leading to miracles in the Lord's work, says Elder Cook. Elder Cook said that in 2024, we witnessed over 308,000 of God's children enter the waters of baptism and receive the precious gift of the Holy Ghost. That equates to about 50,000 more convert baptisms than 2023. It is more convert baptisms than the church has had in nearly 25 years. Quote, and as exciting as this increase in baptisms was in 2024, we were delighted to learn that the rate of increase for new members attending sacrament meeting was even higher. We thank the Lord for allowing us to witness his hand in these remarkable outcomes. He is the reason for the hastening, Elder Cook said. He said this quote-unquote spiritual momentum has continued to increase in 2025. Compared to the first quarter of this year with the first quarter of 2024, every region of the world has seen at least a 20% increase in convert baptisms. Let me just point out, every region in the world, at least a 20% increase. Something's going on. All right, continuing, quote, this is remarkable. In the last 12 months, ending May 31st, the Lord's hastening of his work resulted in the largest number of convert baptisms in any 12-month period in this dispensation. Okay, so I asked Grok to revise the estimate, and this, I don't know if this can be hard to read for you, but I'll read it. Elder Quentin L. Cook's remarks indicate a significant surge in convert baptisms in 2024, and a continued increase in 2025 with at least a 20% rise in convert baptisms in the first quarter of 2025 compared to the same period in 2024. Additionally, the 12-month period from June 1st, 2024 to May 31st, 2025 saw the highest number of convert baptisms in the church's history, exceeding the previous record of 330,877 in 1990. This suggests a potential shift toward exponential growth, aligning with, because I talked to Grok about President Nelson's statement about how we're at the point of exponential growth. So Grok says, after considering what Elder Cook said, this suggests a potential shift toward exponential growth, aligning with President Nelson's 2018 statement about entering a phase of quote-unquote exponential growth. I'll adjust the previous projections based on this new data, assuming the growth rate either continues at the reported rate or increases, and projected membership for, and then it gives some years. So it shows all of its math, all of its work. We're going to go down to this part. Elder Cook's remarks suggest the growth rate may increase beyond the 20% baptism surge in 2025. To model this, the optimistic scenario, 2.5%, is more appropriate. So Grok, when you ask it to calculate things, in this case, the rate of growth, it'll give you like an optimistic scenario, conservative scenario, just to kind of give you a range. So it's saying that the 2.5%, which is the more optimistic scenario, is more appropriate based on what we just heard from Elder Cook, as it aligns with the reported baptism growth and assumes sustained momentum. If growth accelerates further, example, to 3% annually due to global outreach or technological advances like those mentioned for re-engaging converts, projections would be even higher. But I'll use the 2.5% as a balanced estimate given the data. Well, I later asked it to give us the 3% figure too. So we're going to look at both of those. Okay, so for the 2.5, Grok says, given Elder Cook's emphasis on spiritual momentum and record-breaking baptisms, I'll favor the optimistic scenario, 2.5%, as it reflects the reported surge and potential for continued acceleration. Final projections are these. So 2029, 19.8 million. That I feel like that's pretty realistic. I mean, I don't have some algorithm in my brain that can calculate this, but it seems about right. 2034, 22.4 million. 2044, 28.6. 2054, 36.6. And then I have this highlighted because it'd be somewhere between these years, 2044 and 2054, that the church will have doubled in size. Okay, somewhere around here. So that's not too far away. It could be sometime in, based on these projections, which of course, things may increase even more. We don't know what's ahead. It seems like the prophet does. He says exponential growth. And if that's true, then it probably will be higher than this. But if Grok is correct, then probably sometime in the 2040s or early 2050s, the church will have doubled from what it is right now. Okay, later on. Oh yeah, and then with that projection, it was thinking that we would be just under 100 million before the end of the century, 2099. Okay, so that's pretty exciting. if that's how it turns out. I think it's going to be more, personally. Okay, later, I asked it to go ahead and run the 3% scenario, and this is what it came up with. So the doubling would still fall within that time frame, 2044 to 2054, but by 2099, this projection would have it at 166,000 members of the church. Or sorry, 166 million members of the church. So that's substantially more than the 2.5 estimate. I think that's pretty incredible. And then I think there was one more thing. I know that there's one more thing at the bottom here. Yeah, here it is. Okay, 2.5 growth rate. The church's membership doubles approximately every 27.73 years, with doublings around 2052, 35 million, and 2079, 70 million, with approximately within the 100-year period ending 2124. And then the 3% growth rate, the church's membership doubles approximately every 23.1 years, with doublings around 2047, 2070, 2093. Or in other words, you can think of it like this, quadrupling from 2047 to just before the end of the century. Quadrupling from 35 million to 140 million. And 2116, 280 million within the 100-year period ending 2124. So I don't know. We don't know what the future holds. Are we just seeing a temporary bump right now in numbers? Is it going to be sustained? Is it going to increase? We don't know. We'll just have to wait and see. But I am a person of faith. I feel like we've been seeing a lot of miracles, a lot of things happening. I have a testimony that President Nelson is the prophet of God and that he's receiving direction from the Lord. And I testify of that. And I know that he sees around corners. And even though there's this goal to have a temple within an hour of 80% of the membership of the church, I also tend to think that it's for growth as well. I think that they're expecting this kind of growth. So these are exciting things to think about. It seems like every couple months there's some kind of news about growth. I've done so many videos where just there's like a new record that's broken, or we've never seen this before, or we're creating X number of stakes or missions, or announcing X number of temples. So I don't think it's too hard to believe. And I don't think it's too hard to believe that the rate of growth will maybe exceed what Grok is expecting. Because there's all sorts of things that could happen. What if there's some major event? I've always had this scenario in the back of my mind. What if there's some major event that really rocks Christianity or just religion worldwide? What if suddenly, certain churches, large churches, what if they suddenly just disintegrate? They go away. There's some startling revelation that shakes a lot of people's faith, and those that remain that have faith, they don't have anywhere to go, because all these churches are just breaking apart and disintegrating, except for ours. The only place where they can find Christ may be our church. So, that gets off into a lot of speculation, but I think it's possible. I think that it is. Well, that's going to be it for this one. If you haven't already, please make sure to subscribe. Like this video if you liked it. Leave your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. Also, make sure to share it, and I'll talk to you guys later.